If you're watching this right now, you're probably already making the exact mistake. That guarantees your ex will never come back. And the worst part? You think you're doing the right thing. The first rule is painfully simple. And almost every man violates it. Monitoring your ex kills any chance of her coming back. 100% of the time. It doesn't matter if you check her page once a week. It doesn't matter if you accidentally look at her profile picture. Even that is enough. Why do we do it in the first place? Because it gives us the illusion of control. You see a new photo. A new status. Her friends count. The last time she was online. And for a few seconds, you feel lighter. Calmer. Relieved. But that relief is borrowed. You took it on credit. Tomorrow evening, it will hit you harder. Watching your ex's stories is like curing a hangover with alcohol. You didn't remove the pain. You just postponed it. And when it comes back stronger. The hardest part doesn't happen immediately. It happens 1, 2, sometimes 3 months after the breakup. That's when your brain whispers. What if I check her page right now? And she's crying. On her knees. With a caption like, "I'm sorry. I finally understood everything." Logically, you know this scenario is impossible. You know it. But imagination asks. How do you know? If you didn't check. And that's how the addiction starts. Just once, you tell yourself. One quick look. And never again. Monitoring your ex is like scratching a mosquito bite. Yes, it feels better for a moment. But the itch only gets worse. A breakup hits a man's nervous system brutally. No exceptions. The psyche can't handle it. So the mind turns on hope. Hope works like anesthesia. You tell yourself. Yes, we're not together. But maybe tomorrow we'll reconcile. Yes, we don't talk. But maybe she'll realize her mistake. And instead of feeling 100% pain, you feel 50. Or 40. Or 20. Depending on how convincingly you lie to yourself. But here's the difference between men whose exes actually came back. And those who stayed stuck forever. The men who got their ex back. Accepted all the pain. They said. I'm not hoping for anything. They didn't comfort themselves with fantasies. That she should reach out. They convinced themselves the opposite. That it was over. Completely. They didn't feed hope. They destroyed it. Every real-life example. From books, from experience, from my consultations. Says the same thing. Exes return only to men who are not waiting. They never return to men who hope. I have never seen a single exception. Advice like, be a man, respect yourself, or hit the gym, doesn't work, at first. If a man has just been left. If his chest feels like it's being torn apart from the inside. Those motivational phrases are useless. You really think quotes help someone who can barely breathe from emotional pain? Of course not. A breakup is like surgery. And surgery without anesthesia is torture. That's why distance, or silence, actually helps. Not because it magically brings her back. But because it keeps you from collapsing. Even if it's not a perfect no-contact rule. Even if it's just a pause. But you make one decision. You never message her first. Never. Under any circumstances. Even that already works. Real no-contact begins the moment you understand. There are things more important than getting your ex back. The problem isn't that you miss her. That's normal. The problem is that you allow yourself to want a woman who does not want you. Think about what you're saying to yourself. I want to be with someone Who rejected me? Who doesn't choose me? And I see nothing wrong with that. At that moment, you're not just betraying yourself. You're also betraying a woman. Who could enter your life tomorrow? Next month? Or next year? A woman who would look at you and say, I choose you. But you block her path. Because you're clinging to someone who already walked away. You can justify it however you want. I still love her. She's special. I miss her so much. Let's talk honestly. Right now, you're standing at a crossroads. On the left, your ex. The woman who lied, betrayed, and threw you away. On the right, a good woman. Capable of loyalty, care, commitment. Who do most men choose? The ex. And then they complain about life. Every time you miss your ex, you're watering the ground where a good woman could have grown. But now that meeting becomes almost impossible. Think about how ungrateful this is. We suffer for those who rejected us. And ignore those who could actually be there. We step over decent women. For the sake of women who erased us from their lives. After a breakup, there are only two paths. 1. You whine and say, I love her. Or 2. You put principles above emotions and say, I cannot want someone who does not want me. And I'm willing to pay for that decision with pain. This is a one-time internal decision. But it must be earned through suffering. I made this decision myself many years ago. It wasn't easy. But since then, my desire has never outweighed common sense. And I've never felt fear in relationships again. Not because I became cold. But because anything that doesn't choose me isn't mine. When a man values principles more than desire, he becomes unbreakable. Most men don't realize this. But the most dangerous phase comes later. Not in the first week. Not even in the first month. It comes when the pain becomes quieter. Not gone. Just quieter. And at that moment, the maximum you can usually get is her suddenly reaching out. A message. A reaction. Hey, how are you? I've been through this more than 10 times. And it was always the same pattern. Always. Your emotional dependence slightly weakens. You start living again. You still care, deeply. But it becomes chronic, background pain. Sometimes it shoots through you. You remember her voice. Her face. Her laugh. And then, nothing. No contact. No messages. Silence. You tell yourself, she's just trying to mess with me. But here's the trap. Even when she reaches out, it launches a new wave of thoughts. New fantasies. New hope. And suddenly it hurts even more. In this state, there is never a real result. Never. But in every single situation in my life. Every one. Where I finally made a firm decision. Not a hopeful one. Not a strategic one. A final one. Where I said, I can't live like this anymore. Hope is no longer helping me. It's destroying me. That's when it happened. 2 weeks later. A month later. Sometimes longer. She came back. Persistently. Intensely. As if she felt it. And here's the part no one talks about. I wasn't happy. Honestly. When you become more experienced, you don't celebrate it. You look at it and think, why now? I just started living again. And then you don't know what to do. Because it looks like a breakthrough. Like the end of no contact. You answer, Maybe you meet. If it's an ex-wife, the signals can be even stronger. A night together. A short trip. A kiss. Same algorithm. Every time. You think. This is it. We kissed, that means something is still there. And then a few days pass. And everything collapses again. You can't believe it. You think. Wait, what? Am I seriously going through this again? The suffering. The hope. The burial. Again. And now you have to bury her. Not once. But twice. If you've lived through this cycle. Not once. Not twice. But 3 times. It breaks something inside you. At some point you say. Stop. I don't believe in anything anymore. She could knock on my door. And I wouldn't believe it. In my practice, people used to come to me and say, Alex, you're my last hope. I've seen 25 specialists. All of them promised she would come back. What do you think? And I already knew the answer. Just from reading the situation. 0 chance. A good specialist sells competence. A bad one sells a positive prediction. Many don't care about truth. They care about filling a slot in their calendar. You come with a personal tragedy. For them, you're just a time block. You pour your soul out. And they're thinking. Whether they'll have time to eat before the next client. That's when I changed everything. I stopped promising results. I became an analyst with an opinion. If you want the truth, come. If you want comfort, go somewhere else. 90% disappeared. Where do you think they went? To the ones who promised hope. Let's return to the main question. How do you stop thinking about your ex? By learning how to evaluate a woman correctly. This is how I personally define a woman's value. Her loyalty is the engine. Her care and attention are the wheels. Her reliability is the transmission. Now think about it. If a woman left you, then right now she has no real value. She may be beautiful. She may be familiar. She may be emotionally charged. But she's a favorite piece of metal. That doesn't drive anywhere. At least not with you. And here's the irony most men miss. For your ex to feel attraction again, you must get rid of hope. All men whose exes came back weren't celebrating. It was a quiet, ordinary event. Like, oh, interesting. But you're probably not there yet. You still need to understand how attraction actually works. How women fall in love. How female psychology functions. That's something experience teaches painfully. Now listen carefully. Every time you think about your ex, you bring her back to life in your mind. Her voice. Her face. Her smile. And then reality hits. You're not together. So you bury her again. Monitoring your ex means you don't go through the breakup once. You go through it hundreds of times. And then men ask, why can't I forget her? Because you bury her. Every single week. If you check her page once a week, you bury her once a week. How exactly are you supposed to move on? Men who obsess over their ex don't stay stable. Their mind starts breaking patterns. They wait for messages. They read signs into random calls. An unknown number hangs up. It must be her. A fake account adds them. Obviously her. When an ex becomes important, no one reaches out. No one. And that's what drives men insane. But then, slowly, it gets a bit easier. And at that stage, the best you can get Is her testing you? A message. A poke. A signal. And even that ruins you again. Because it restarts the hope loop. In my entire life, there was only one scenario that truly worked. When hope stopped helping and started hurting. When I said, "That's it. This story is over." Not strategically. Not manipulatively. Internally. Final. And every single time. Weeks later, sometimes months. She reached out. Strongly. Persistently. But by then, I didn't need it anymore. And here's the truth no one likes. The moment an ex returns is usually the moment you no longer want her. Because you're finally free. So remember this. Anything that doesn't choose you is not yours. And the moment your principles become stronger than your desire, you stop being controllable. You stop being breakable. And that's when everything changes.